All right, everyone. This is hour 2 of episode 20 of Handy at the Shandy. I'm Boring Jack. Joined with me in hour 2 is Adam the Fraud and Table James Games, and we are out of the woods with respect to these trip reports. I know that I'm looking at maybe going back to Vegas the beginning of May. James is looking at the end of May. Adam, do you know when he'll next be in Las Vegas?
Well, August for sure, beginning of August, late July, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to sneak another one in before then, but we'll see.
And that's talking when we're going to Vegas.
For hour 2, we have on the docket a fair bit of listener questions and feedback, as we tend to have, so keep it coming. We love getting these questions on Twitter. You can reach out to James at James_tyranny or Adam at Bauer Power Hour, and I go on Twitter begrudgingly and sparingly, so don't bother. James, because these kind of came in via your channels, do you want to get us going on what people are asking us today?
Yeah, I was pretty active on the Twitter when I was in Vegas because I was having some big hits and posting stuff and giving some updates. And then I kind of went silent for a couple weeks because I was just recovering. And then this week I knew we were recording and I'm like, hey, I should probably put a call out, and got a ton of questions. Some of them weren't Vegas related. I'm looking at you, J-Dubs. So I pulled some of them. Some of them we're also going to push to future episodes when we might have larger conversations about it. So if you don't hear your question/feedback here, just wait. You might
either
hear
it sucked or it was like really good, and we're holding on to it.
So the first one that came in from at Beeson Brian on the Twitter: are there properties that over or under comp you? You can base that on data or vibes, which seems to be the same thing lately. So I'll kind of start with that. I don't really know about like under comping per se, because I'm always expecting kind of not to get anything comped. And then when I get something, I get like excited about it.
James gets mad when his room isn't ready at like 2 p.m. What do you mean you're not expecting to get things comped?
No, I mean like if I go up and I ask at the end for a, hey, can you look at my play? I'm expecting they're going to say no. So anything they say extra,
sure. But do you have places whose offers don't impress you, right? Like it's kind of what they're asking.
Yeah, I would say right now, I feel like Caesars is under comping me based on my play that I give at Atlantic City than going to Vegas. So I find it really odd that both Caesars and MGM don't try and get you to go to their other properties and kind of reward you at the other properties based on certain properties play. So like right now I can get like any MGM, Aria, Bellagio, Cosmo, any of that stuff. Like I'm going to get it comped and get, $500. But then
that's because when you go there, you sit at Chandelier Bar for 10 hours playing 15 a push.
Correct. But
whereas when Caesars gives you an offer to go to Vegas, you put your friends in at Planet Hollywood and then go away.
First of all, Jack, that's not where I was going with it. And you need to stop interrupting your elders, okay? I am 40 now. What I was going to say is, like, if I try and go to Borgata at Atlantic City, like I gotta pay. Like there's no, like I have no comps there because I haven't played there. And I would I would think that they would kind of notice like, oh, well, he's in the MGM system at these other properties, so we should at least comp him some nights at this property here.
I wonder if that's a holdover of the fact that it's kind of a new addition to the MGM portfolio.
Could be. It definitely could be. And then for Caesars, right, in Atlantic City, like everything's great, and I'm getting these offers for a few $100s in free play here or there. But you are right; they probably just see that every time I go to a Caesars property in Vegas, I'm just putting my friends up and taking the free room, or at least the cheap room. I can't even get free rooms in Vegas in it. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that would be my thoughts on properties and comps right now.
Adam?
Right now, yeah, I mean, it actually is Caesars because I don't stay there and I don't really ghost them. I did it once, though. I did have someone stay at Planet Hollywood in my name. I have not been hurt by that. But then also Fontainebleau, I think, is overcomping me for very limited time spent in their casino. And I think that's just a product of them really trying to get people in the door, which we can use to our benefit. So, yeah, still getting free room offers there. Quite good ones, too.
Yeah, that's the one I was going to say for overcomping currently. The only times I've ever felt like I'm actually getting overcomped are on these like bounce back first stay offers. The Fontainebleau is a great example. Right now I can get like 3-4 free nights any weekend I choose between now and the summer,
Mhm.
including ones that are hard for me to get at other properties. And it comes with 350 in free play, which is probably more than I've ever gotten from any property, to be honest. That might be the
Mhm.
biggest free play offer I've ever seen. And it's at a place that values their room product reasonably highly. So Fountain Blue
Mhm.
for me right now, but that's because I've only played there once and I wasn't staying there. And I purposely kind of seeded that offer. So
Mhm.
it's working as intended from my perspective, even though I'd agree they're overcomping me. I
Right.
guess the other example of me doing that would be at Venetian Palazzo when I first played there. I stayed on Adam's favorite Amex Fine Hotels and Resorts program. So I
Mhm.
stayed not on any sort of casino offer. And so I was very cognizant of only gambling there on specific days that I was going to be playing a lot. And the bounce back offer I got from them, which it was just kind of a normal, casino offer. Oh, you get like 3 free nights and 100
Mhm.
free play, 100 F&B kind of thing. But it was valid like every weekend, including
Mhm.
Super Bowl, when the Super Bowl was in Las Vegas. And
Wow.
so I was like, man, I missed out on that, because that would have been cool to go see. Because it was like, yeah, Cosmo was like, oh yeah, you come here all the time, we'll give you a room for $1,000. And Venetian
Mhm.
was actually just giving me a free room for some reason. So
Yeah.
that's the only time I've ever been overcomped.
One thing I will say is I felt like I was being overcomped by Resorts World. And the reason why I would say it's overcomped is because I would legitimately just go in and play my $45 in free play and eat my $25 in food and leave.
Mhm.
And I posted this on Twitter. They sent an email out that was a marketing email that was like, hey, your comps just got better. Now your food is tied to your room, so you can just charge it back to the room. Isn't this great? It's like, that's so awful. That means I need to book a room in order to enjoy my $20 that you've been giving me. It's just so
I
funny
thought that was
they
really disingenuous of them to try to
Mhm.
brand it as a
Mhm.
perk.
right,
Like,
yeah.
as if we couldn't see through that. Like, I don't know. I thought that was really shitty, actually.
Oh,
But
I was annoyed at it.
Resorts
So
World is not known for making good or
Mhm.
customer friendly decisions.
yeah, so cool. That's a good question. And I'm sure a lot of questions will continue to come up throughout the episodes on comping, and it always changes. I'll be really interested to see when Hard Rock opens next year, if the properties on that end of the strip, if people start seeing better offers because they don't want to lose them to Hard Rock. And then what's Hard Rock going to give us at the very beginning? That'll be really interesting too. The next one from Is Me BSB or Is Meb SB? Who knows what it is, but it's at Is Me BSB. I can't remember if you guys talked about the difference between short, big bet sessions versus long, small bet sessions at tables. But what do you think is better? A session with 2 hands of 50 or 1 hand of 100 if time on table is the same? So I'm not sure if they mean what's better on the comp perspective
I
or
think that's almost certainly what they mean.
Yeah, I mean, okay, that's sure. I was trying.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
I was trying to give us more things to talk about, Jack. I was going to say, I don't know if they mean about like comp or like how much you enjoy it, which would then give us 2 avenues to discuss this question. But instead,
We're actually already out of time for this question. Can you go on to the next one?
No. Our next question. No. So yeah, the difference between the two sessions. I don't know. I'm guessing it's the same. Like, you're wagering the same amount. Now, if it's like blackjack, perhaps because there's more opportunities for doubling down and stuff. I don't know if that changes what they plug in, but my guess is they're just going to plug in your total bet amount into that little computer thing every 20 minutes they come by. And so I don't think there's going to be much of a difference. What do you guys think?
I thought it was interesting that they're kind of asking 2 different questions here, because the example they give with 2 hands of 50 or 1 hand of 100, if time on table is the same, I agree with James 100% that you should be rated based on your aggregate bet amount times the time you spent playing. As long as, the bets are equal, we're not, you're not making different bets in the 2 different scenarios. But that's kind of a different question than a question between a shorter session with bigger bets versus a longer session with smaller bets. And I think we touched on this a little bit in episode 19, where we said, yeah, you really want to show them time more so than you want to show them a flash in the pan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that tells them a lot more of you as a gambler. And their system and the algorithms and everything they're looking at in their analytics is going to be way more sophisticated than just simply, oh, here's coin in, right? So I think that's good.
Yeah, one thing I always like shit on casinos for is being like weirdly irrational about not liking players that try to hedge their bets. Like casinos hate it. Casinos hate this one weird trick. No, but casinos seem to hate it if you like bet 30 of the 36 numbers on roulette or bet both the do and the don't at the craps table that offset each other. When it's just like they make the same money either way. Like, but what James is kind of getting at, which I think is true and interesting, is that it does say something about you as a gambler. If you walk up and bet 30 of the 36 numbers at the roulette table, it says that you're not here to gamble. You're just here to try to do some weird trick to game the system. Mm-hmm. So even if it doesn't work in their system, they still don't want to cater to you because they think you're not actually a person who tends to gamble the way their preferred gamblers do. And I do think that's something to think about. And so even if for the casino, you were putting the exact same theoretical loss in these two hypothetical sessions you're talking about, the question is like, well, which one bodes better for them long-term if this was the mentality of the customer kind of thing? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then you always should just go do the opposite. Whatever the casino wants you to do, that's probably the thing you shouldn't be doing, to be frank, right? Like obviously if you want to get comps, you go do that thing. But if you want to like not lose money, maybe you just go do the opposite, right?
Yeah. Have either of you, when you're playing table games, do you only stick with one hand, or do you like to play 2 or 3 hands, like let's say blackjack or Pai-Gow or anything? Do you ever multiply your hands?
I've never spread it, but now I'm thinking that if I'm alone at a Pai-Gow table, maybe that would be fun to do.
Mm-hmm. I used to do that more often, especially when you could find $10, $15 Pai-Gow. And occasionally they'd have like a rule where if you're going to play 2 hands, and this I guess also comes from certain blackjack tables, but if you're going to play multiple hands, you have to double the table minimum on each hand, which someone will have to explain to me why that rule ever made sense. But yeah, I've definitely played 2 hands before, but now I can't see myself doing that.
I think I like playing 3 because it's the same I like to play for video poker.
3
line, 3 hands blackjack. Yeah.
3 line, yeah.
Thank you, Isme BSB. Next question comes from @Jess Calamari.
I am hungry too.
I know, right? I think a lot about ways the north end of the strip could generate more foot traffic and spread out the crowds. What does the north end need? Maybe an attraction like the Bellagio fountains? Is the north end missing a mid-tier or themed property like New York, or Paris? And I mean, the Treasure Island used to have something up there, right? Like you used to have the pirate show, but I know it wasn't, something that's going to drive a big crowd. But
no, I think maybe like an Irish pub or something like Shaquille O'Neal's or something like that, maybe.
I think the main issue up there is that everything is too few and far between. Like there isn't, and I don't think there's ever going to be kind of the analog of walking out of Cosmo and having the ability to walk up to Bellagio or across to Planet Hollywood. And those casinos aren't like close the way some of the Caesars ones are. Like I'm not trying to ask for things to be like Link, Harrah's, and Flamingo. I'm not trying to ask for it to be as bunched up as downtown. But even that bit where you're just like, oh, it is a 1-minute walk versus a 4 to 7 minute walk is a huge deal. Because we walked from Encore to Resorts World on the last trip. Adam guessed that it was about 1.5 miles. It's much shorter than that, but it isn't 4 minutes, right? It's a little longer than that, right? Yeah. And so I think they really suffer from things being too sparse, and that's not going to solve itself anytime soon because that's the way a lot of these modern developments are going.
Yeah.
They want more retail and they want more shit that no one wants in between each casino.
Probably 3 or 4 more country bars would do it. I think they'd be getting there.
Yeah. The last part of that question is North End missing a mid-tier or theme property like New York, or Paris? I have a couple of things on that. One, can we say that a Hard Rock is themed? I mean, it's
but Hard Rock isn't on the North End. Hard Rock's like is south of Venetian, kind of, right? Like,
I guess yes. Okay, so all right. So when we're talking North End, are we talking just like
I think we're talking north of Encore, yeah,
north of Encore,
or north of
Encore,
or north of Palazzo. We can say north of Palazzo.
North of Palazzo.
North of Palazzo.
Okay.
I'm saying like Harrah's and up.
Right. Okay. So now this is. I think this is interesting. I picture as soon as I get to kind of Venetian, so across from the Old Mandalay, right where we get to the guitar, I think I'm thinking that's the north end of the strip. Then there's like the way north, and that's the Strat, Fountain, Blue.
In my
and,
mind, Sands
Resorts
Avenue,
World.
which
Okay.
separates Treasure
Yeah.
Island from the Fashion Show Mall and separates Palazzo from Wynn, is like the marker between Mid Strip and North Strip.
Gotcha.
Which is probably what Jess is thinking.
Yeah.
Because if they're asking if they're asking for a themed resort, it's like, well, Treasure Island, Hard Rock, like
Right.
that would suffice. So mid-tier, yeah, I mean, that would make sense.
Yeah.
That you'd want that.
And by saying spread out the crowds means get rid of the crowd in the mid
Yeah.
and move it north. Not that. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We're
really
figuring this
fumbling
out
these
slowly.
questions.
Love this. I know. Maybe we should figure this out beforehand. Maybe if someone would.
I don't know why so many people listen to episode 2.
This is the one. Are we not saying Circus is mid tier? What? Come on, that's
It's themed.
I do think
definitely-
Sahara is trying to be the mid-tier property of the North Strip, but
it's
again, they're
so
just
far
so much
away.
further north. Yeah, so I don't know. Themed, I don't think is going to cut it. I don't think anyone's opening like a themed resort anytime soon. I don't think Hard Rock is going to be as themed as we hope it is. Right?
Well, hopefully we answered one of those questions.
I don't think we did. I'm
Don't
so
think this-
sorry.
I mean, I guess just the North End just needs more people. So I do agree with that. How do they get people up there? And I think they're trying, but like, man, if you want good properties, like you're like, hey, I love Fountain Blue, but you're probably just going to stay there. And then if you want like the hustle and bustle of Vegas, you're going to want to be mid strip. I just don't see that bleeding up, at least anytime soon.
I think the thing that Ms. Calamari says that I agree with a lot is thinking a lot about the ways the North End could do better. Because we were talking about this even with respect to the thing James just mentioned about like Resorts World seemingly always making baffling decisions and making things worse for themselves. But it's really easy to point out the dumb things they do and say, well, that was dumb. But I actually just don't. If you put me in charge of Resorts World tomorrow, I have no idea how I would actually improve their bottom line. Like it is a mystery to me.
Which is weird to say, because if you're a content creator online, you have to have all the answers for these kinds of things.
Right. You know what would really help is if they had a SpongeBob SquarePants pop up, right? Yeah. No.
Well, the issue is because the main thing I would just suggest is to have a really good cocktail bar that has video poker. I think that would solve all their problems. But they already have it.
They've got multiple. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, another one that came in from Twitter. I'm doing all the work, guy. I'm doing all the work for this episode.
Your birthday's over.
Yeah. One from @TitoDebanker2. Please talk about using other people's free play on games where you can or can't hit a jackpot. Please and thank you. Have you ever played other people's free play?
No, but I bet you have.
Adam?
No, I haven't. No, is this a trick question?
Yeah, so I have. But I've done exactly what Tito DeBanker 2 here is kind of alluding to. There are times my buddy Jeremy has some pretty good, at my parents' local casino, will have some pretty good free play. And he might be like, hey, I've got $200 and I can't make it this month. And he's like, I don't care if I lose it. Why don't you just play it? But I'll play.
Is Cash Patel listening to this right now? Are they getting this?
Might be. I will make sure that I play just video poker, quarter, single line. So the biggest hit I'm going to have is $1,000. So nothing's ever going to get triggered with it. So that's what I do, because it's someone else's card in there, and I'm clearly.
Yeah. So to be clear to the listener that may not be immediately plugged in on this, it's against the terms of service of their Players Club rewards program for someone that is not the card holder to be using the benefits of the card. They're
Highly
not
illegal.
able to like void your jackpots or stuff like that. That's something that people are often worried about, is like, oh, if I hit a jackpot, they're just going to confiscate the money because I was playing on the wrong card. The Gaming Commission isn't going to let them do that. You're making a wager. You're there in person doing it. They have to give you the money. I don't know about Pennsylvania law, but my understanding is in Vegas, something like that wouldn't fly. But they could bar you from the property, or at a minimum bar you from the Players Club, things you're not willing to risk, right? And bar the person whose card you were using as well. So they really don't like it if people do this kind of thing, which is why James is talking about these ways of flying under the radar and making sure that you won't hit a jackpot that'll come get an attendant to ask for your ID.
When are we going to be the type of podcast that we can play little noises like you press a button and there's a
I've thought about
sound
that.
clip. Because
Yeah.
every time you go into one of those, terms and services, I really just want to be like, nerd.
I was just explaining the conceit of the question to the random friends of mine that I know listen but aren't exactly plugged in on what could be good or bad about this scenario.
No, that is good. And I need to get back to that because I know like the first few episodes, I was very much like, hey, I know I've got friends that don't really know a lot about casino stuff and I want to educate them. And now every 2 weeks.
The first 3 episodes, they learned all there is to know. And now they're just in. Yeah.
Now they're just in. So that's true. So yeah, that's what I do. I'm the person on this podcast that, is going to hell. So makes sense. Makes sense I would do the sinning.
On that note, that concludes the Twitter questions we got this week. But we've got some content from our email, which is handy@theshandy@gmail.com.
Ooh.
And the first is a little bit of feedback on something I said last episode. And let me tell you, this feedback does not make me look good. Tony C. writes, Tony says, the green light definitely triggers quickly and regularly at Chandy with dollar blackjack. That's my default while my wife or friends play video poker like normal people. He says, I confirmed this just a few days ago. So thank you, Tony, for not needing to take us up on that $20 stipend that we advertised on the previous episode for a research grant and just going and doing it independently. That impacts our bottom line positively. But also, I am maybe coming around a bit on James's theory that not all the machines behave exactly the same. So what you're going to need to do is go back and play each machine at dollar blackjack and see if they all behave exactly the same. And we will send you $20 for that. So
for sure.
Where's this $20 coming from? Oh, your friend's free play. Never mind. We got it covered.
I really do enjoy when people do science to figure out how these things work, especially if it means that I don't have to. And oftentimes, like you said, if I play like $7.50 a spin, and James was kind of getting at this the last episode, I might not notice small perturbations in the ways that the machines behave because
Jesus Christ.
What did you say? Are we allowed to say
that
that word?
I think it applies.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like the same root as perturb, like a perturbation is something that's slightly perturbed.
That's what happened.
You do perturbations, you left or right-handed.
Yeah.
None of that's going to be in.
Oh, come on.
You cut out all the good stuff.
Jeez Louise. This is episode 2, so people listen to.
They like the banter, Jack. They like the banter.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're moving on to the next one.
I would like to know. I would like to know if all the machines behave exactly the same. And Tony C is going to be boots on the ground. Thank you, Tony.
Yes.
Next email came in from Holt. He says, and I'm paraphrasing a bit here, but he says that we've discussed when in the trip we'd prefer to get a big win, but what do we actually do if we get a big win early? And he tells a story of a trip he was on where he got in Thursday evening when the rest of his group was coming in Friday morning. And through a combination of big slot hand pays and a quick winning crap session, he found himself up $10,000 before anyone else in his party even showed up to Vegas. And he's wondering if that happened to us, how would we play for the rest of the trip? Play like normal? Play bigger? Pocket some profit? And he says he ended up locking up $5,000 of that 10K in profits and then just playing like normal with the rest of the 5,000 in winnings, which I think that was a great choice. But what would you guys do?
Yeah, I'd probably do the same thing. It should lock up as much as I can and then just normal's the way to go for the rest of the trip. But I feel like James might be a little bit different going to 50 census.
You started at 50 census.
Actually, I started at 50 census.
That's fair, yeah.
I think I just play the same. And I obviously recency bias, not even recency bias, just like this happened to me recently. I didn't really change a lot from what my normal play is. I think I played longer than maybe I would have if I was down. Like I feel more comfortable like, oh, I got 2 hours and I could have gone to the pool, but I'll play because I'm up. Yeah. But I didn't I didn't say, hey, I better play dollar Ultimate X now because I'm up. Could I have? I definitely could have. Like I had the bankroll that I finally could have moved to like some higher denoms, but I didn't.
Finally,
but I didn't do that.
Finally,
like I can't wait.
I'm just waiting for the day I can play dollar Ultimate X.
I can't wait to be playing 50 lines at dollars a piece. Yeah, but I didn't like lock up a profit, and I consciously didn't do that because I could have, right? Especially, you know, if I was up 11,000 at one point, I could have said, hey, I want to go home with 8. And so I'm going to put that away because I didn't want to give myself a point where I would have to break that.
Right.
And so, because then I would feel awful. Like if I was up 11 and I said, hey, you know, I want to make sure that I'm up 8 going home. So let's have this 3,000, which should get me through the last day, right? It should. But I've had those days where like you put $1,000 in Ultimate X and it's gone. You go to the craps table and $1,000 in 10 minutes is gone. Now I don't want to be sitting there being like, oh man, I put this limit on it. So I didn't, and I don't think I would do that. But I would kind of know that if things go the way they should go, I'll probably be taking X amount of profit home.
Right. I was thinking about that exact thing with respect to Holt's question, where I was like, well, yeah, you're never going to regret locking up 5K of the profits. And I was like, well, yeah, the situation where you regret it is you run out of money to gamble with without touching that 5,000. And then you put yourself back in that bad spot of like, do I have the willpower to shut it down that I thought I had Thursday night when I was up?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I just break and keep gambling? In which case, what was the point of having set aside the 5,000? So, but yeah, we've talked about this before to some extent with respect that I don't really ever change how I'm playing based on winning or losing. I might just change how long I'm playing. And James got to that as well.
But to that point, isn't it just like, okay, I'm going to lock up the 5K and then say, with respect to the rest of my trip, it's just going to bankroll as normal. And I'm going to respond to that as it's the bankroll I preset for the trip, right? So if it does get down, I'm going to slow down because...
Well, let's say hypothetically your bankroll for the trip was like 8,000.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to lock up 5K and then play on the rest of the trip with an $8,000 bankroll, you haven't really locked up the 5,000 because
I think what Adam
could go when he says he's locking it up, he means he's not going home with less than 5K in profit, right?
Right. But I think what Adam is saying is, let's say that in this case, the bankroll was 5,000. He made it up to 10. So he puts the 5,000 away. He still technically has a bankroll of 5,000. He basically just resetting the trip.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so,
but the question is, what would you do if your bankroll was, more than that? Like if you had, anyways, I think it's somewhat clear. But
I think we're saying the same thing. But I think I just don't want to put myself in that position of like, and of course I'm putting myself in that position if I only bring a certain amount of money and the first day goes horribly, am I going to go to the ATM or not? So
yes,
it's always smart to lock up profits. Do we always make the smart decision? We created a podcast for gambling in Las Vegas. I don't think any of us make smart decisions.
Yeah, wait till the next trip report.
Yeah. Speaking of people that don't always make the smartest decisions, the next email we got was from friend of the pod, Dan.
Wow, way to throw some shade at friend of the pod, Dan.
No, he has an interesting question. He says he went through a dilemma yesterday playing at his local casino. He says the best game they have by far is on one of 2 high limit machines. And playing there, the guy next to him was playing max bet on a $10 denomination single line video poker machine for $60 a spin, because it was one of those weird 6 credit games. It says when he first sat down, he didn't talk to the other guy too much, but as they played next to each other longer, they got to talking and rooting for each other. And when he left, he referenced me by name, which he might have gotten off my player's card, but I think he knows me. I have bad vision, so I forget people all the time. Anyways, the guy was playing suboptimal strategy, to say the least. He would frequently hold a lone face card over a small pair. Then, a couple of times when he got terrible cards, he would hold just a single 2 or a single 3. He was easygoing.
He was probably sitting next to me. He couldn't see me that well.
Yeah.
He was easygoing, so I was considering giving him some strategic advice, as I don't think he would have gotten angry about it, while some people clearly would. And Dan asks, what do you do here? Do you just mind your own business? Do you ignore all but the most egregious mistakes? I thought it would be a little aggressive to mention he should hold the lower pair, since he's playing a game that values 4 of a kind. But I almost told him that I wouldn't recommend holding a single deuce. What would you guys do in my situation? I realize it's player dependent, but I was just uncomfortable watching him make strategic mistakes for that kind of money.
Just holding a single random low card is just awesome. I mean,
first of all, Dan, you said that you have bad vision, so maybe you weren't seeing what he was holding correctly.
He was holding a couple of aces. Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't give advice. And it's only because it's that weird thing of, and I poke fun at Jack too when he gives me advice, which I accept. And I like it when
Accept
Jack gives
is
me
a
advice.
very strong word.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's banter involved. But, when you tell me the correct mathematical play and it doesn't work out, I like to make fun of you because it's like, yeah, see, of course it doesn't. But there's some like odd truth to that where giving someone advice and then it doesn't work out, how are they going to take it when that happens? And it's clearly this is in his bankroll to be doing this, I would hope at least. If you're choosing $60 a spin, that's a very specific amount that you're just comfortable with. You don't just like land on that and keep playing it for a long time if you're not. So I wouldn't, but I'm glad you got a fun show out of it. That's for sure.
I absolutely, in this case, wouldn't say anything if the guy's playing that much more than I am and clearly doesn't give a shit. Like if he gave a shit, he would have figured it out well before he sat next to me, right? The times that I do tend to give advice is when someone is clearly interested in what I'm doing. Like they're interested in my video poker play, like as to, hey, what's your game? If they're showing interest in what I'm doing and they're playing video poker at the bar next to me because they see me doing it or stuff like that, then I'll tend to say, oh yeah, at this game, maybe you do this or that kind of thing. I think if they're younger than me, I'd be more likely to give unsolicited advice. I don't know. It's really hard to tell, right? Like, I know that I have heuristics in my head for when it is or isn't okay, but it's really hard to like tell what they are.
Yeah, because he's not like asking like, oh, because there's certain tricky hands with every game, right? Where it's like, it's like kind of mathematically, it's on the edge of like, should I do this or should I do that? And he's not asking that. He's like just confidently holding a deuce out of nowhere. So it's like, he's not even in the realm of getting the right strategy at this point. Like he's worse than me, which is really bad.
I would probably make some small comment of like, do you play this often? Like, if it was, no, I really don't play much, then I might be like, oh yeah, they've solved the game. Like there's an optimal way of playing. And then maybe that would lead into the conversation of like, oh really? Yeah. And it's like, oh yeah, like for example, you should always hold a pair and then like kind of go back to my own game.
That's
right?
a fairly sound social advice right there that I wouldn't even think of doing. And I'm usually sober.
Yeah.
I feel like you also can just be blunt and say like, hey, I play this game a lot. Do you mind like if I give you strategy advice, or like, do you mind if I ask why, just, and if they say, if they make it sound like, oh yeah, like doesn't really matter much to me, then you just don't say anything any further. But if they seem interested in actively learning, then you go for it. And any non-committal response, you just shut up kind of thing.
Yeah. Or you could just be like, fucking idiot.
Well, right. On the other hand, like there is, other than the fact that Dan thinks he might know this guy somehow, but we're not sure why. Other than that, like you meet assholes all the time in Vegas. You could just be a dick about it in a way that is at least just true and correct.
Yeah.
Like they hold a jack instead of a pair of fives. You say, oh, you really like the jack there when you have a pair?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. You could just say what I say to Adam.
Yeah. Yeah. And thanks for emailing this in, Dan, because Dan texted me this question and I was like, oh, this would be a great question for the pod. And thinking that like I would just bring it up or post it here. And he's like, oh, I'll email. And I was like, thank you, Dan.
This is why he's friend of the pod, Dan.
That's why he's
he was definitely sitting next to me though, for sure.
It's definitely Adam. Yeah, Adam, you're not playing $60.
Like, what is Deuces Wild? We just hold every deuce we get, like just the one deuce.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is true. But
all right, and the last question we have is a Twitter one, but I stuck it in at the end of the email, so I will be reading it, and is from @Floob's Tavern, which says, I'd love to hear more about lessons learned from your recent and past group trips and good places and ways to facilitate group activities in Vegas. And I thought this was a great question, given that this James Ganza, as it was, went pretty well. And I think we had a lot of fun doing it, and I think we probably have some stuff to say. So, James, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, I think this has been mentioned a couple times in the past. I know Adam is a big proponent of it, of having like one big thing a day, and then the rest of it's a little more loosey-goosey. I think that's what I tried to do. Some days we had bigger things going on. a lesson learned is, I don't know if it's a lesson learned, but like you can't please everybody if you're the one that's organizing. This is actually something that I spoke with. This is how much it weighed on me going in. I spoke with my therapist about this trip coming up and how I know the way that I get is that I'm going to want to like make sure everybody's having a good time, but I have to remind myself that everyone's choosing to go to Vegas for my birthday. So like they're coming out and they understand how things are. So like I don't need to always be worried about everybody's having a good time.
Well, and so I think what you said is interesting, that like if you can't please everyone, then you shouldn't try to please everyone. Like,
right.
Because if it's not doable, then why try to do it, kind of thing, which I think is another interesting take.
Yeah, I thought it went a lot better than I actually like. I was like, oh man, it's gonna go bad. People are gonna not like it or this or that. But I think we did a really good job. Jack's gonna be pissed. I went in with the attitude of, here are the things that I would want to do, and I think these would be really fun, and I hope you all join me doing these things. But if you don't want to, I'm going to respect that utility function, and I'm going to say you get to do what you want to do as well. And I think that was a really good attitude and made me really, really enjoy the big groups.
I think that's the most important thing, beyond like having some outline that people can focus, because there are type A people who just like want to know the plan, but like being able to be like, hey, they're just not going to show up for this, or things happen. Like I canceled breakfast plans or something like that, or I just didn't show up to something because I knew it's like, you're going to be like, okay, that's fine. Because there's so many people, it's Vegas, plans change. So you have to be easygoing with this kind of stuff. It's not like a disrespect to you or whoever the party person is. Right. It's more just like Vegas got to me or something else came up or whatever it is. And just kind of the host kind of has to go with things too.
I think one lesson learned is that I actually have amended my stance on the one big thing per day. I actually think maybe it's more correct to do two big things per day.
Like one, we're doubling the things we do.
One either like mid-morning, early afternoon sort of time frame, either or. And then one like either dinner or bar sort of thing in the evening. Because I think if you only have one big thing a day, I think that might not be enough for, I would say, some people. But what I mean is that like you said, people that need more direction or, want to know what's going to be going on and aren't going to be just doing a self-directed guided tour of Vegas.
I think that depends on how familiar the person is with Vegas. So having two or three things when it's people who like don't really know what they're doing, that's great. And if you're going with a group of friends who you're all Vegas-y people, then everyone's going to kind of have their own thing they want to do. So maybe just having one bigger event. But at least one. Let's go with the words at least one.
Well, and what I mean by that, like the one big thing is like one big thing that requires a reservation where we're expecting everybody to show up. But having other plans that you're going to do that people can easily dip in and out of if they want. But it's like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, a pool. Anyone can go to the pool, leave whenever they want. But like you have something going on.
I guess the thing that made me take this as a lesson learned was like that Sunday of the trip. And granted, I got to spend the entire Sunday playing video poker at the Chandelier Bar, so I'm not complaining. But the fact that we didn't actually have anything other than that dinner at night, we ended up getting that 7 p.m. at Pavette's, but that was actually all we ended up doing. James and I had our little date at the buffet. But it's like I kind of realized after the fact that it would have been nice if there was a structured activity during the day for us to have done. And it's like, yeah, maybe 2 is actually the right number for me.
Yeah. Okay. I will say a lesson learned. I don't know if it's from this most recent one, but just in general, Vegas is still busy. No matter what you're reading everywhere, it is still, and if you want to gamble as a group, finding a video poker bar where there's more than like 2 or 3 seats together, or a blackjack table or a craps table or anything like that, I think you've got to plan your gambling sessions as a group earlier in the day. Like you can't expect to like 8 p.m. on a Friday at any respectable casino be like, hey, I've got a group of 6 people and let's go find a blackjack table to play together. I just don't think you're going to find that.
Yeah, you can always, and it kind of depends on how much time you have, because that's something we've done before at various bars, is just kind of go for the attrition, wait them out method, where we all just take whatever seat or standing position we can get, and then slowly as people trickle out, as soon as someone stands up, you just quick throw your napkin over the machine and say, hey, my friend will be right here kind of thing. And you just do that until you've taken over an area of the bar. But sometimes you don't have that kind of time, right? Like you're trying to play a quick 45-minute session with your friends and you realize that you can't do it. So yeah, that's definitely something we found.
In order to facilitate the group activities, I made a Google Doc that I just put all the plans in that we're going to be as a group, and I sent it in a group chat. Now, I made a group chat, which did not go as well as probably like a WhatsApp that Adam would say would be better, mainly because Adam's phone, for some reason, was just duplicating everything.
I got a new phone. Yeah, mid chat.
Mid chat. So probably a WhatsApp or some other non-just group text message would work well, especially if you have, those people with the green bubbles on the texting, like Chris. So I think that those would be other ways of the facilitating.
Use an app like WhatsApp, please, because I have things that I want as text messages, like from my family, about my kids and all that. Then I have things that's like, are you making Wicked Spoon? That does not need to be in my main feed of my life. It needs to be in a side feed that if I wake up and I see it in time, yes, I'll respond to Jack being like, hey, we're going to Wicked Spoon now. That's all I mean by that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I do think another question that Floobs is asking, which says good places to facilitate group activities in Vegas, I think is an interesting question, because a lot of Vegas lately has done stuff that is meant for groups like that. If you talk about like there's that mini golf place on the South Strip, there's the playground at Luxor, which is meant to be kind of like a group activity and drink sort of place. A lot of like, I don't want to say it's like escape room like, because it's not an escape room, but that sort of like kooky millennial group activity place is like making a weird resurgence in Vegas in the last like 3 years. And so, but we've never like tried to do anything like that. And I feel like we wouldn't. And so that's why I thought the question from Floob's Tavern here about like places to facilitate group activities in Vegas was an interesting one, because we tend to just go to the places we would already go and just do it with a bigger group.
Yeah, like I was just trying to find some restaurants that I thought would be like best friend, and that went really well. Yeah.
I think the cabana you did at Rampart, I think that's a good example of something that you might not otherwise do, but it's a good place to have a group activity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then a lot of it's just like walking. Like I both weekends I was like, hey, let's walk this part of the strip or let's walk this downtown and then kind of see what goes on with it, which I think allows for some flexibility.
Yeah, and like downtown can be a good place for that too, or because we see that sometimes when we're just hanging out and like, oh, we're gonna go here and we're gonna gamble, and then people like they just break off into their own little small tribes to do whatever they want to do. If it's like, well, I don't want to play blackjack, I'll go over here. Same thing can happen downtown where it's like, we're gonna go into Four Queens and sit at the video poker bar, and then someone's like, well, maybe I'll just go across the way it's over here. And so just having an area where people are gonna meet and mingle and whatever, it doesn't have to be super formal.
And of course, Guy Fieri's all you can eat.
Yes.
Brunch. Great place to gather.
It's a great place to gather over like a 20 to 25 minute period.
With 80 mac and cheeses. My food just got delivered. Can we wrap this up?
I think
it's getting cold at the door.
I think the good news is that we were already wrapping this up.
Okay, good.
So I'd like to again thank everyone that wrote in their feedback and questions, because that made it so we had to do no work for hour 2. James did all the work for hour 1.
Yep.
I'm Boring Jack. For Adam the Fraud and Table Games James, we will talk to you in episode 21 in a couple weeks.
Bye, everyone.
See you in a couple weeks.